Now, for a flooring contractor in Florida, how we want to set up the site, the pages, your URLs, and links are we want to be very distinct, right? So for you want to have service pages, you want to have location pages, your URL structure needs to be clean, and then there's a 3-click rule that I implement on all of my client sites that any page from the home page needs to be findable in 3 clicks or less. So now, for your services, you want to have one page per service, and then you also want to have one page per area you serve. And so, what you want to do is you want a hardwood floor installation service page. You also are going to want a LVP or luxury vinyl plank service page. And then for your locations, you're going to want for your location pages, you're going to want more location variations or location keywords, right? You're going to want, as an example, Pensacola flooring, or another example is Gulf Breeze floor installation. Not only that, you also are going to want to consider to put the zip codes or some neighborhoods in that city or that area that you're talking about that you provide that service. So you could do Pensacola hardwood floor installation on your location page. Now, when it comes to setting up your site, you want to use a clean URL structure, and we want to make sure that everything is lowercase, everything is keyword based, and it comes down to having like one idea per URL. An example here is / flooring services / hardwood installation. Then down here, there's another example of service areas and then Pensacola, Florida. And now what this does is you're going to have these folders or hubs, right? So you've got your homepage, you've got your flooring services, and then for your flooring services in the URL structure, you're going to go down each of them, right? So here is hardwood installation, but then you also need luxury vinyl plank if you offer that service. You also need tile ceramic, right? You're also going to need carpet. And all of these URL structures are going to be clean and they're going to break it down into these hubs, right? So flooring services, then the service. Then you've got your service areas, then you've got the city or the name of the area you serve. We don't want to put dates, no random numbers, or like no super deep nesting. Deep nesting is when you go like 3 or 4 forward slashes into something. You need to make sure the URL reads like a breadcrumb. Now, when you go to interlink your flooring contractor website, what we need to make sure is that we're applying the 3-click rule. So the 3-click rule is every page on your website needs to be reachable in 3 clicks. So why this is important is that Google will come to your homepage and it will crawl, right? Crawling is basically Google coming by and it will look at all the code. It will grab all the code, it will find all the URLs, and all of these URLs will go into another process. This process to start could take a couple hours or a couple days, right? Then it will go to those URLs. So this is the second page, and it will crawl all of that code on that page, right? It will gather all the URLs from that page. Then the same process will then go and crawl those pages, right? So let's say it takes 3 days. So Google finds the URLs on the first homepage, 3 days for it to come by to the second page, 3 days for it to come by to the third page. And then let's say that we have a fourth and fifth page. So we're already at 6 days. And this is because this is an example of a bad architecture of the internal linking because it's set up to where a page links to a page links to a page, right? What we need to have is that you have these hubs. So By having these hubs, like a service hub that lists all the URLs to all the services, what happens is that instead of Google having to go through 6 pages to find that page, Google goes to your home page, Google goes to your services page, Google finds all the services. So then another example, a hub for your blogs, right? Google goes from your homepage, Google goes to the blog hub that lists all your recent blogs, to then it gets all those URLs, and then it goes and crawls those blogs. And then it instantly finds all of that information. Same thing for your location page. Now, if you don't have this, what can happen is that in that example of the 12 days for Google to come and find that URL, you can make a change to that page and it could take longer than 12 days. Let's say it does take 12 days. It takes 12 days for Google to come by and crawl that page. That means you won't have any impact from the SEO you apply to that page in 12 days or longer. And what can also happen is that Google could abandon that page because it's so orphaned, or it's so far from the homepage that it doesn't think that it's worth coming back to crawl or even keep indexed. So it could drop that page entirely. So we want to use these hubs to flatten the site so that it's easy for Google to come by and grab all the URLs. It's easy for Google to hop from page to page to gather all the URLs and to crawl the pages to understand more what they're about. Now, keep the hubs simple. We just want them to be for links. And what is also interesting is that internal links are a ranking factor. So when we went in Florida and we searched for flooring contractor in all these major cities, what we found is that the total links on a page that correlated with ranking was 152. So what we want to do is we want to point links from our blogs and services to the page we actually want to rank. So as an example, if we wanted a location page to rank, then what we would do is we point all these external pages on our site to that one page to help it rank. But let's say instead we wanted a service page to rank. What you could do is then you have the blog and the location pages point to that service page. And then that will also help it rank because you have all of these pages all linking to that one page. So a quick recap. You want a page per service and per location. You want to make sure that you have clean keyword URLs, one idea each. And something to consider is that when you go to construct your URLs, what you need to think about is when you have these links on your page, especially in your navigation or in your footer, is that if you have a whole bunch of those, what it does is it can increase the keyword amount or the keyword density on a page if you have enough or if you have any links, right? By putting that keyword in the URL, that will count as a keyword on page for all the pages that have that URL link. So on your blog hub, if all of your blogs have keywords in them, then technically on that blog hub, you could have a couple hundred keywords. Now, that's not necessarily so that you consider, well, I don't really want to rank my blog hub. But what can happen is that if you have your location page and then you have a mega footer, so in your footer you have a whole bunch of links, and then all of those links, the URLs, have keywords in them, you can artificially inflate the amount of keywords on your page by simply just having that structure. Then you want to make sure that all your pages are within 3 clicks of the homepage. We want to make sure that we're using blog, service, and location hubs to facilitate that. We want 150 links on a page, internal page, right? We want to point them at money pages that we want to rank. And then also in the anchor text, we want to use a keyword, and we want to be slightly descriptive as well. So set up the profile right. You want service area, you want your address. Then we want to make sure that we fill in everything on our profile, services, descriptions, photos, reviews. We want to study what's ranking currently for our page, right? And so we want that 1,300 word count to 1,600 word count. We want keyword variations. We want LSI keywords. We want entities. And we don't want to exactly be keyword stuffing. We want to use those variations. Then we also want all 6 heading levels packed with variations, keyword variations. Then we want clean URLs. We want our site to be within a 3-click depth. And then we will also want those hubs and internal links. So now, if you want this built for you, your Google Business Profile Plus website ranked with real data, not guesswork. I've helped local businesses scale from 10K a month to 30K a month, and